another Trump election is one thing, but another Trump presidency is something else.
I don't even know why he wants it. Like the party line on the Democrat side is that he wants to become president so that he's not prosecuted for as many crimes.
That's why Caesar didn't want to give up power.
That's interesting.
Trump is no Caesar, but I can see that line of questioning. Yeah, the person in control can't be prosecuted. Yeah. So unless he dies in the next 4 years, there's a possibility. But if he doesn't, then he still has to maintain power.
Speaking of Rome, now that the baby is calmed and bred in circuses, what were we talking about the NFL? My father and my mother were in town.
Yeah, they came to town to help with the baby.
To see the baby.
And it was constant football. It was constant football.
Love the football. Yeah. My father loves the football.
And I was telling you about this video that I saw on Twitter, and it was a lady who talked to her husband and asked, we talked about this last week. She asked, do you ever think about the Roman Empire? And he was like, all the time. And she was like, oh my God, I cannot believe it. What do you think about the Roman Empire? This guy's shirtless on his front porch. I was whittling something like that. And he was like, well, just the way they kept the plebs are peasants, occupied with bread and circuses, so they wouldn't pay attention to what was really going on in society. And she didn't expect him to have such a thoughtful answer.
It's like, yeah, lady, where do you get off?
Yeah, it's like, didn't you think you married a thoughtful man?
I don't know. But anyway, football, man. When football went away during COVID, stuff got real weird.
Yeah. People were starting to pay attention to things that they shouldn't have paid attention to.
Yeah, people were starting to talk about like argon energy that I had never imagined would know what argon energy is. It's like as soon as the sports went away, they were like, well, I got to do something.
Okay, so football did not go away during the 2020 season. It's just that people weren't paying as much attention to it. The ratings dipped because they were paying attention to the Black Lives Matter protests. They were paying attention to the pandemic and the election of 2020, which was an absolute mess. So it wasn't that football went away. It's just that people were focused on other things. Yeah. Football really is the bread and circuses that keep people entertained, and they spend so much money for these stadiums. And we're like, where does the city get off, spending all this money for these football stadiums? But most people, they're just watching football.
Yeah, and even like college football. I can watch a football game. I played football a little bit before high school, not anyway seriously, but I can appreciate the...
Yeah, you still have a brain, which I appreciate. But your brain isn't full of holes, so thanks for that.
I can appreciate the artistry of the game and the strategy of the game. But yeah, so watching college football also makes me go like, man, this is really holding together, huh? Like it's because I've worked a bunch of college sports. And it's just crazy, the coordination and how much people care.
Well, it's a sport. So those kind of people who are going to organize their time and organize their energy are going to organize it around football or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's just a personality type like playing out, which I appreciate.
And it's so many
that people. Militaristic kind of personality type.
Yeah. Like you really see America like somewhat united when football is on TV.
Because you only talk about football. You don't have to talk about anything else. You don't have to talk about politics. You don't have to talk about anything else. Yep. Football, dips. Do you like the dips? Mm-hmm. You're not even going to say, I don't like this dip. You're going to say, I like this dip more. So it's a very positive atmosphere. It's just talking about the football. And the rivalries, they're not serious. Like Bills, Patriots, no one's really serious about that. We're just having fun. Mm-hmm. Whereas Trump, Biden, like that's serious. That can come to blows. That's what Chris Christie said in the debate. He said, I hate Trump because he's dividing families across the country.
That was actually a very good line in the debate. Yeah.
Yeah. No one's getting divided over football.
Well, no, they are. But I take your point. But no, it's just during COVID, sports went away. Mm-hmm. And things, got very, very weird.
I remember sending this video to my friend Maisie. Doesn't matter what her name is. But it was a video of this podcaster on YouTube. He's since been kicked off of YouTube. But he was just like an MMA guy. And he had this other MMA guy on. And they started talking about what was serious. Like the serious state of the world. And this MMA guy was like, yo, I didn't pay any attention while football was on. But now that football is off, I'm really learning about adrenochrome and what the Hollywood elites are doing to these children. And I was just thinking, Jesus, just bring football back.
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, yes, you are distracting the populace from taking on the larger issues. But would this populace be able to take on the larger issues, or are they just going to fight about monsters?
They seem to just be fighting about monsters for the most part. They've done a very good job making it like impossible for normal people to like discuss the real issues, right? They've just clouded it in so much nonsense.
Well, you need a media. So in order to discuss real issues, you need papers and a media that are going to cover the real issues, which means they have to take a loss on the journalists. They have to take a loss on the investigative journalists.
Mm-hmm.
Because these are the people who are spending a year writing about a story of insider trading or whatever. So they need that. We don't have that anymore. We don't have that infrastructure for people to take things that seriously, unfortunately, right now. Because all the air in the room of all the conversations across the country is taken up by, I support or don't support trans. 1% of the population at most. It's not that important when you look at the grand scheme of things.
No, it's an interesting cultural phenomenon, but it is really not that important.
It really isn't. It's like, are we going to get high-speed rails? What are we going to do about fentanyl? And these issues are so big that people just, they don't even discuss them.
Yeah.
There's like, what can I talk about? Okay, I can talk about these culture war issues, which at the end of the day, they're just not that big a deal.
Right. And I think the argument on the other side of what we're talking about would say that these are the stories that people want to see. So it's like when you talk about how 24-hour news really drove things into the dumbest possible realm of news, and the people who defend it would say that like, well, that's what people want to read. That's what people click on. That's
true. What people want to eat is cake and cookies.
Yeah.
So just because someone wants something, it doesn't mean you should. And this is what we're talking about. We're talking about this the other day, about the Twitter algorithm. Does it keep showing me awful things because I look at it like a train wreck? And that's what it decides I want to see? Because that's technically how the TikTok algorithm works.
Mm-hmm.
If your eyes linger on something for even a moment, whether it's because out of disgust or whatever, it'll show you more of that.
Mm-hmm.
So is that what we're seeing? That we're just looking at the train wreck, and so we're seeing more of the train wreck.
I bet. Yeah. I also think the internet kind of ruined niches, I guess. Like, now you can really quantify everything about user engagement, right? So, like, a newspaper that was at one point, like, the top of the game, like the New York Times, right, would publish a paper. And if you read the New York Times, you got the paper and you read it.
Yeah.
But now they are trying to be competitive with fucking tabloids, essentially, just anything else that's on the internet. So it's expanded their audience from the people who read the New York Times to everybody. So they have to general audience as much as possible.
They do that, but also what you just said was really interesting because now they can see which articles are more popular. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you were publishing a full paper, you didn't know which articles specifically people were reading.
Right. You were basically telling people what was more. I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure they were measuring sales, right? I'm sure they were measuring paper sales somehow, but really that's just going to tell you how effective your front page was.
Yeah.
And now they're able to measure every single story.
Yeah, so you can't put broccoli in there. Or
right.
It's not worth it to put the broccoli in there or the salad in there. Everything has to be sugar.
Yeah. And I may be being
sugar.
A little unfair to the New York Times because I got that app because I like the Wordle.
Did you have the New York Times app? I'm paying for New York Times.
You're paying for it, but it's on my phone too.
Oh, okay, good. I'm just like, we better both not be paying for New York Times.
No, but I click through the news sometimes before I go to the Wordle part, and they're covering real shit. But I think I've just become so cynical about like everything. Like I've become so cynical of PBS and NPR, which I was always a huge proponent of during COVID. Just the way that these news quote unquote organizations responded to the COVID situation really made me lose faith in all of it. And I can't even think about, like, I've completely checked out for the most part. Like somehow I stay informed, but I'm completely checked out.
Democracy Now! Too. I remember one by one they started to go off. Like under Trump, and people started to get very...
Yeah, the Trump thing too. Yeah, even before COVID.
NPR kind of went, I feel, under Trump. New York Times went under Trump. I think PBS NewsHour kind of went under COVID.
Yeah.
And Democracy Now! Went under COVID too.
Yeah, because, I mean, say whatever you want. The the Russia thing, the pushing of the Russia swung the election for Trump idea really did drive everybody nuts when there really wasn't any evidence that said that that's real. And then it's the kind of thing where it's like, it definitely, like the same thing as COVID is like, we're all looking at the same information.
Yeah.
Why are you telling me that this is your conclusion when it's like, you're supposed to be objective, number one?
They may have tried, like, okay, so what swung the election for Trump? There's probably 100 different things or 100 different points, and maybe Russia got one of those points. But you know what got 70 of those points? Running a candidate that was deeply unpopular.
Yeah, that people really didn't like.
Flirting with aristocracy, because to have Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Clinton, that sounds really bad.
Yeah, it's not
That
great.
sounds like we have a ruling elite of certain families, and that's just not what we do here.
Yeah, and it's like we'll get into what we think really happened. Like, I'm pretty sure, I don't even know if this is confirmed, I just know it's absolutely true, that
Okay.
Obama, when it came down to Obama-Clinton in the primaries, Clinton and Obama had an understanding that when Obama was done, it was Clinton's turn.
Oh, this is all conjecture, but okay. I'm with you.
That's definitely what happened.
I'm with you. You're talking about the 2008 primaries when
Absolutely.
Obama versus Clinton, and it was head to head, and they were at each other's throats.
Yep.
That Clinton fell back or agreed to drop out of the race
And endorsed Obama.
on the assumption that she would be the next one up.
That she would be the next one up. And I present to you my proof
Okay.
of these things. That election year was huge. The Democratic field in 2008 was like, I think 15 serious candidates. It was a lot. Maybe 12. But it was a lot. All right, let me just look it up, because this is going to illustrate my point and my proof. Don't laugh.
Go for it. I want to hear this.
2008, Democratic Party presidential candidates: Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, John Edwards. Remember him? He was a serious candidate.
Oh, he
Yeah.
ruined his career.
Christopher Todd, Mike Gravel, or Gravel, whatever.
I liked him. I think I gave him money.
Dennis Kucinich, serious
Okay.
candidate. Bill Richardson. So of those, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 serious candidates, right? The 2016 Democratic primary candidates were Lincoln Chafee,
Rhode Island. Yes.
Hillary Clinton, Martin O'Malley, Bernie Sanders, and Jim Webb. So that was 5 total, right?
Yes. No one else wanted to go up. Who is not serious there?
Well, the 2008, I cut this list short because Howard Dean ran in 2008, Wesley Clark, Philip Norman. So there's like, John Kerry ran in 2008. Al Sharpton ran in 2008. Like, these are serious candidates that could definitely have won.
Some of them, but yeah, go on.
In 2016, the only serious candidate on its face is Hillary Clinton.
Wow, don't put Chafee down like that.
Lincoln Chafee was not a serious candidate compared to Hillary Clinton. He didn't have a shot.
Why? But we never asked ourselves why these people don't have shots. Just because the party insiders have decided that they shouldn't, so they're not serious. Like, who decides what's serious and not?
The polls. Like, if you look at the percentage points, like
That's
the
because-
favorability ratings, nobody knows who Lincoln Chafee is. He doesn't have a shot.
Outside of Rhode Island.
Right.
But give him some press. Everyone was giving Hillary Clinton press. Give this guy some press.
That's how it works. Bernie
people-
Sanders earned his press, and we were huge Bernie people.
We were
Bernie would have beaten
supporters.
Trump in my mind because it was a populist election, and you
It
put
was
a
a populist
populist
election.
up against the establishment, and she had to run on. Everything was great.
And the thing is, yeah, Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, that would have been too populist. But when Bernie Sanders dropped out, Donald Trump became the populist, which is a joke.
Yeah.
And so now, once again, he's coming at it like he's an outsider, et cetera, et cetera. And it really is just a mess because he runs against Joe Biden. Joe Biden couldn't be more establishment. But
Right.
the fact that both of these people are running, that we're having a serious conversation, just shows what a bad state we're in.
It's not great.
Why can't we get a 50-year-old? A 50-year-old who doesn't need to make $1 billion a year.
Yeah.
Or don't we have a regular guy who's okay with making $250,000 a year? Just a regular ass managerial dude.
No.
Like the best history professor in the country. I think the best high school history teacher in the country should be president.
I agree.
I think that's how we should do it. Because when people are like, oh, we need to pay them more. We need to pay them more. I'm like, what more do they need? Like, what do they need? Like when Obama left and he went and started giving speeches for Wall Street, like, why do you need so much?
Right.
What is wrong with the morality of our politicians? They just need more shit, like a big house on Martha's Vineyard. Why do you need that?
Yeah.
That just seems, it seems like a ruling class kind of thing. It doesn't seem like a political class kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not good. How did we get here? We were on to something, and then I got distracted by the 2008 thing. So Clinton definitely was told, you're up in 2016. So somebody called every other serious candidate and said, it's Hillary's turn. You're not to run in 2016.
Yeah. And then, and this is what I thought you were going at, in 2020, in the 2020 primary, Democratic primary, someone called everybody in March of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, of 2020, and said drop out.
Because Bernie's going to get it. And if Bernie gets it, then I don't know. I don't know what they were afraid of other than, I mean, to give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't think Bernie would win.
Well, I'm talking about someone in the Democratic Party called everyone and said, drop out and give it to Biden and put your support behind Biden.
Yeah, because he won the New Hampshire primary. The word on the street on Twitter is that it was Obama. That Obama basically
did everything. Maybe Obama did it, whatever. But they fixed that primary once again for the establishment candidate. And this time, at least the establishment candidate, who's Joe Biden, could beat Trump.
Yeah. I mean,
And
a lot of people say he didn't.
Well, whatever.
He probably did. But and that's I always find that funny too, is when they say like, you're telling me this candidate that fills stadiums lost to this guy who can't fill a library. It's like, that seems crazy, but also the reason that candidate is filling stadiums is because people love that the other half of the country hate this guy.
Yeah,
His
it's an
whole
us
appeal.
versus them. It's
Right.
an us versus them cult of personality, and a lot of people hate Trump. More people hate Trump than love Trump.
Right.
But that might change this go.
He's ahead by 13 points according to that one poll. So
Over Joe Biden, even
Yeah.
though if you look at it, Joe Biden has a fairly successful presidency.
yeah, it's true.
It's just appearances. Joe Biden appears weak.
Very,
looks
very,
weak.
and is very weak, probably, right?
Yeah, and this is not, it's just an appearance thing, and the American people don't like it. They're like, oh, Grandpa Joe. But it's like, when you look at what he's done, you're like, oh, he hasn't done a terrible job, with the exception of the vaccine mandate he tried to push across. That was awful. And so you're just like, are we really going to let Trump come back? Are we really going to let Trump come back in? Is that really going to happen? And then what is the
I don't
second
think they can
term?
stop him. He would have to. One of these like lawsuits would have to actually go through or something. But they can't stop him from being the Republican candidate at the moment, and he will be the Republican candidate.
It's looking like he will be the Republican candidate. It's looking like we're going to have another election cycle of just petty schoolyard bullshit back and forth, which really brings the country down.
Yeah.
Like, we're already dumber than we've ever been.
Yeah, we were catching up on, we were refreshing ourselves on the 2016 election for the video you're researching. And I just, watching everybody miss the opportunity to like be a child at Trump, because that's the only thing that would have worked. Like, I can't remember
his level.
Yeah, you got to say, like, this guy takes 2 hours in the morning to put on his makeup and another hour doing his hair. This is an unserious person.
He's a deeply unserious person. I don't understand it at all, but he's just mesmerized. He's mesmerized a portion of the country.
Yeah.
Like, they are enthralled by him.
It was the part in the debate, I think it was the first debate, where Hillary was asked, basically, Donald Trump says that you don't look presidential. What do you have to say about that? And she took it as an opportunity to be like, women can be as strong as blah, blah, blah. What she should have said, she should have laughed and said, Donald Trump takes longer than I do to put on makeup in the morning, and I look much better.
Yeah, you have to fight this as if you're having a reality TV battle.
I don't know if anybody's going to do it this time around. Chris Christie would. If
Chris
Trump
Christie
would go to
would.
the debates.
Oh, yeah. There's no reason for him to go because Chris Christie would insult him.
Yeah.
And he's been preparing. So why would he face that? Chris Christie's entire point, this entire election cycle, is to embarrass Trump.
Yeah. And Vivek, your favorite.
And to embarrass Vivek?
Oh, yeah. He got on Vivek real good last night. It was great.
Yeah, no, Vivek is a slimy con man.
He is a pharma bro.
Yeah.
They're literally making documentaries about the harm of the pharmaceutical industry, and nobody's bringing that up either. They're basically trying to get him on the China thing because they're all financed by the same pharmaceutical companies that finance every politician in this country. So they can't bring up the real problem, which is that he is a pharma bro fucking piece of shit.
All right, let's
Excuse
be more
me.
descriptive. Specifically, we don't like Vivek because he made his money on a pump and dump scheme that scammed working Americans out of millions of dollars so that him and his family could enrich themselves. He also supports other people, Martin Shkreli, who scammed people out of a lot of money, raised the price of insulin, I believe.
Yes.
So he's not interested in the well-being of the American people. He didn't vote until 2018, and he's like 38, almost 40.
Right. And something that we said this on an episode before, but he is such a perfect example of like our wasted intelligence.
Yeah,
in
he's
this
a
country.
smart dude. And what's he
Clearly
using
smart.
it for?
He left whatever Ivy League college he went to and went into finance like they all do.
Yeah.
And then went from finance into pharmaceuticals.
Just to make a buck. Like this is what I was talking about earlier in the podcast. Like all these people, they're just there to make money. Not
Right.
all of them, but a lot of the ones like Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy.
Well, even on a smaller scale, it's like that's our problem is our best minds are drawn to finance. They're
They're
drawn to the industries that are like, how can you most effectively rip off the American people?
Hello, YouTube. That has been a clip from my Patreon podcast. This week, we talk about the wonder that is Donald Trump and the Republican primary. We talked about football, and for some reason, we went off into The Sopranos. So check out my Patreon for the full podcast.